Thank you for listening and welcome to the Life Podcast, a proud member of the Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network. I'm your host, Don Smith. This week's guest co-host is the incomparable Michael Moore out of Columbus. Bree McGurk is our in-studio guest. We have some intelligent discussion, but it's still the Life Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, like and follow the Life 1069 on Facebook and Don Smith Comedy on Twitter, or tune in live on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM, or you can stream the show live at wwsu1069.org.
The brutal presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
All right, it is time for the Life Radio Show. Yeah. If you're sticking around from Raider Up, I'm keeping that energy going. I'm just kidding. Were you guys listening to
Yes,
the?
I was.
Yeah, so much fun. So
I
much
wasn't.
fun. Yeah, Michael was. I didn't expect him to because it wasn't your voice over the radio. So
Correct,
why
sir.
would you bother to listen
That's
to
right.
it?
If it's not me, then I don't care.
My guest co-host for this evening, the fabulous from Columbus,
Yeah.
the fabulous Michael
Yeah.
Moore.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you are. It's just so great to have you. I'm speechless, Michael. I'm speechless.
That's right. On
The
this
Mike-
election
would
day.
you like Mike or Michael?
I'd go with Michael.
Michael?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm grown.
You got to be all fancy. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Don, by the way. Don't bother with this Donald nonsense.
You're who?
Don. Don.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I stopped using Donald as my full name 2016, I
When
think,
you-
2015,
when you started putting
something
pants
like
on?
that. Yeah, when I started wearing pants, then I was no longer
Stop
a
doing
sailor.
the
I
Donald
left the
Duck
Navy.
thing. I
left
gotcha.
the Navy and I
Okay.
started wearing pants.
Yeah.
Which I always thought it was weird that Donald Duck was in the Navy and never wore pants.
Oh, he knew what was up.
Yeah, he was. My first guest is in the studio, Bree McGurk.
Thank you for having me. I'm
Thanks for coming in.
very welcomed and excited. I never
Yeah,
been on the radio.
you're kind of a political guest too, because it's election day.
I know. Happy Halloween.
Yeah,
voting
exact-
day.
Yeah, it's-
Election day.
All
It's
of
pretty
the above.
close. It's pretty close. I dressed up as a concerned citizen,
Yeah, I did too.
and
I
then
dressed
Wow.
up as Michael Moore.
Yeah.
really the
Mhm.
filmmaker.
Sure.
Yeah, because you look nothing like
Michael
him.
Moore, the
And,
boxer,
he's-
the baseball player, the
There are
director.
a lot of
It
Michael
doesn't
Moores
matter.
out there. Yeah,
I'm one of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're one. You're the important one because
As a
you're
chameleon.
here.
Thank you.
Exactly. You should know this.
Oh,
Yeah, I was going to say
See-
we don't have the mouth exercise unless you brought yours.
I didn't.
Okay,
I still have it, but I didn't bring it.
Well, yeah, I figured
Got to
you'd
keep
it.
them jaws tight.
So what is this jaw exercise?
It
Did
was-
you like
Yeah, this-
elongate
It was
Aw.
these silicone things that we put in our mouth. They looked like lips.
like wax lips.
Yeah,
Pretty close,
kind of.
pretty close,
When
yeah.
you weren't forcefully putting your lips closed, you looked a bit like a blow-up companion.
Yes.
Oh.
That was,
Um,
I have photos actually.
Fabulous.
There's photo evidence
that's
of
perfect
this,
for the
the
radio.
nonsense
There
that
you
we
go.
were doing here. So,
Wow.
well,
Speaking
this
of
is
Donald
for her.
Duck.
This is for here. I'll show it to the microphone,
Yeah.
and that way
Yeah.
everybody gets
Well, it
to
was
see.
informative. It's
It was. It was. Yes.
It does look like you're wearing wax lips.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not-
actually, I've found that using those mouth exercises helps my beard grow.
Really?
That's well, yeah, because I was nearly clean shaven the last time you were here.
That's a good point.
No, there was still beard there, just not
Was there?
not quite as
I
much.
was
Yeah,
too
there-
focused
yeah,
on the
you were too
lips.
focused on you.
Whoa! How dare you? Listen, I'm self-centered, but not that
Oh,
self-centered.
okay. Well, I appreciate that. That's
It's just mostly about me.
it as it should be.
Come on now.
So, Bree, let's talk about.
All right, and back to me.
Yeah, and back to Michael.
Yeah,
and then
back to Michael.
Well, is this what you expected from the radio show? Is
You
this
know,
what?
I listen to your show. I listen to your podcast, and I
And
love.
then you sent me an email and said, "Do you really think I should come?"
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
Ooh, boy, I'm gonna be busy.
Yeah, I adore Holly Shock. I really do.
She's fantastic.
I adore her, but we're exact opposites. I'm very reserved. I kind of look like a soccer mom, even though I'm not. You know, like I live in a nice neighborhood, but I
Humble
don't.
brag.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. You know, like
Wait, where does Holly Shock live?
you know, but no, I'm
The
saying,
other side
like,
of the
if you
tracks,
were-
Michael.
But the thing is,
We
like,
all know where Holly shot.
It depends on where she parks. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't mean it that way. I could be Holly, I could be Holly's roommate. I really do.
Okay,
I think I
alright.
could be her roommate, and we
She
would
was
get
almost my
along swell.
neighbor.
Who, Holly?
There was a house available right next door to me, and she looked at it and didn't buy it. I was so disappointed. That would have
Oh.
been fantastic. We would have destroyed that neighborhood.
Yeah,
Because that
would've been
neighborhood's
great.
like very conservative that
Oh,
I
really?
live in.
Yeah.
When I first moved in, my house was like the weird guy. You know, I was the one that didn't fit in. If Holly moved in next
Well, yeah, that
door,
was
that
when
would
you
be
were still going by
fantastic.
Donald, right? So you didn't have
Yes,
the
yeah.
pants.
Well, that was without the
That is-
pants. You know, a lot of Navy guys hanging around, 3 young nephews.
How you doing?
It was weird. It was. it got weird.
Yeah.
They couldn't understand. Well, I drank a lot, so I just
Oh,
talk like that.
Okay,
And that's really,
all right.
yeah. It was rough times.
Okay, I'm
Rough
sorry.
times.
But Donald's really probably the more interesting cartoon character of theirs.
Yeah, you might want to pull that.
You
mic
know,
closer.
Donald's really the more interesting cartoon character of theirs because he can never hold down a job.
That's true.
He never marries Daisy.
Well, he was even kind of a failure in the Navy.
Yeah. And I mean, his nephews are so bad they have to hang around him all the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting about
Until
him.
he sends them off to their rich uncle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
then-
That's
Which there's a comedian
which I've
in
always
Columbus
wondered
that talks
who
about.
the Huey, Louie, and Dewey. I've always wondered where's their dad, because it's Uncle Donald and it's Uncle Scrooge.
Oh,
Is
that's
there
a good
ever a
point.
daddy duck?
Sure,
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
just always wondered about that.
it's Daffy.
Yeah.
I did not. Yeah,
Whoa.
and he ran off with Warner Brothers.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
That
That's
I never
scandalous.
considered that. Yeah, no wonder they don't speak of it.
Yeah. They got to keep that on the low.
Yeah.
they're too frenetic.
See, what you really don't know is Huey, Louie, and Dewey are also part rabbit.
Woo boy.
Yeah, we're
It's getting real weird. God, we're starting off hot.
Yeah.
I almost did a spit take on
I
the
was
show.
trying. I was trying real
I
hard.
hardly ever
Right.
do those.
Pretty soon, we're going to have this entire place covered in water for one reason or another.
Yeah. I'm burning up, man.
Yeah, well, welcome to the Life Radio Show's Water Games.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
So-
water games.
that's what it is. So, Bree, tell us a little bit. We'll get serious for a minute. You can tell us a little bit about yourself. What you are a comedian now?
Well,
How long did that happen?
I've been doing this. I'm very, very green. I've been a performer, open mic comic for about a year. And, this past Sunday might be my last Sunday. I might play at the Barrel in December. But, for me, it's purely an exercise to see if a joke can work. So maybe I could put it in a story or a cartoon because I like to do animation.
Okay,
And-
so you're not looking to be a comic. You just want the experience of having done it and try out some jokes
Yeah.
for other purposes.
Yeah, as of now, that's where I am, and
Okay.
but I love being around
Well,
comics.
that's refreshing on this show because usually nobody can read or write and they just want to tell
dare
jokes.
You've never even seen
Well,
me
not
with
you,
a pen
not
in my
you.
hand.
Exactly. That's why I just make these
Oh,
assumptions.
that's a
That's
good
all.
point.
Yeah.
It's all
It's all
clear.
clear
It's
now.
becoming clear.
But what I really like about it, and what it helps me that's therapeutic, is that I'm not thinking about the future or the past. I'm in the present. I'm in the moment. And last Sunday, at Wiley's open mic, something happened that never happened before. My standards are very, very low, being green. So if I can get through my tight 5, that's success. Now, if I can get a chuckle, an honest laugh here and there, that's success.
Right.
So that's great. But, and I've bombed many times. But I've
That
always,
goes with the territory.
yeah.
I don't
But
know. What's that
I've
like?
always
We'll tell you later, and we'll tell you off the air because you don't, even just hearing it secondhand will upset you. So
every time I get on stage, crush it.
You're
welcome.
I know.
Well, I need to see you.
We can't.
Listen, I've only been on
Wait.
stage like 3 times, but 3 times in 9 years, things are fine.
Right. Well, yeah, that's fine.
But I always been able to finish, and this time, I got a laugh and a groan, which I learned is just as good as a laugh.
No.
That's what Carlin said.
That's what Carlin said, and do not take that as gospel.
Okay.
Well, if that's what you're going for.
Oh.
That's true.
Because
true.
I have jokes where that's my intent is to, and I love it when that happens. I have jokes where that's not my intent, and it's a groan. But, it can be. It can be. It depends on what the subject is and what reaction you're trying to get.
Well,
because as a comic, you don't always want the laugh.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to make somebody uncomfortable to the point where they're,
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Well,
if I'm going to be uncomfortable, you're going to be uncomfortable.
Right. There you go.
Well, that's probably why I bombed. Because I didn't get to finish. In fact, I looked directly at the audience because I realized that I've run out of time. And I said, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I just realized I bombed. Like I confessed to them.
Now, did that get a laugh?
It got a couple of chuckles there and here and there. And then I interviewed the next comic, Dre. And I got off the stage and, Karen, she's so nice. She just gave me a lovely fist bump. And I sat down and kind of wondered what happened.
I've been there.
Yeah. I've had those nights. Like, why did I get up there tonight? And what was that all about?
Yeah.
But you brought up a point that I always thought was interesting about comedy is the being in the moment. Mm-hmm. Because that's one of those things. It's kind of like improv. I know a lot of comics don't care for improv, but a lot of us do. It's kind of like improv. You are 100% right there in the moment. You're not thinking about the problems you've had. You're not thinking about, you are there as you right then. Mm-hmm. And that's a fun thing.
Yeah. Go with it.
Yeah.
Go with it all the way. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's funny because I did a little improv. And it, like I said, that lent itself well, into becoming, into doing stand-up. I ended up in, I guess, performing arts kind of by accident. I was in New York and really down on my luck. And a friend of mine who is an artist and actor, he said, go down to Central Casting. And that way you can get some work as an extra on TV and movies and stuff. And I did it, and I liked it, and I got regular work for a while. And then I did a little improv at Upright Citizens Brigade. I took a class there, and HP Studios, and had a great time. And then my clearance went through to be a contract investigator for the government. So it's like the double life. And I had to put it aside for a while until I took a job transfer to San Antonio, Texas. And that's when I really became unglued. I
think that's San Antonio that does that to people. You just moved. Texas in general. You moved down there. You just come unglued.
Yeah. Well, I was in the Upper West Side. I lived in a nice area, and
humble brag again.
Yeah,
y'all people. Just because I live in a trailer, I don't know why you got to keep throwing this out there.
I lived in like a dormitory house for women. Those tenements still exist, believe it or not.
Yeah, that was a humble brag from Michael, by the way, because he drove his house here, and if he wants to, he can live in Dayton for the evening.
And nobody wants to.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to.
I'll find a rest stop on the way back to Columbus.
Much safer. Not as good a quality heroin, though, at the rest stop.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
I've never dabbled.
You don't come to Dayton often, do you?
No. When I do, it's only in the daylight.
Right. I'm just kidding. So back to San Antonio.
Yeah. So I became unglued, and I couldn't stand driving everywhere in the heat, and I couldn't keep up with the job. I just thought something bad was going to happen. And it eventually did. I didn't realize what it was going to turn out to be. But I resigned in 2015 in the fall, and I tried starting my own graphic design business because I studied art for a while, and it failed. And I just did some improv with actors there in San Antonio, and then I just had a breaking point when the election happened in 2016. I thought, I got to get out of here. And so I came back to Ohio.
Now out of here is in the country? Or
yeah. Well, I wanted to get...
She headed south.
Yeah.
No, I headed...
Hey, I love Mexican food. I'm in.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, where do you think my house is going to be tomorrow? I'm headed Mexico.
Yeah,
Mexico.
Go to Mexico. It's
Mexico.
even nicer. They have night.
Or even hitting the tequila.
Yeah. Yeah, but although you have to be careful going there now, because apparently there are armed militias that are going down there because there are people thousands of miles away and walking that are apparently a threat to our country.
Listen.
Which, not as,
Listen.
Sorry, that's the thing that bothers me, because I heard that, and the one they were interviewing this one idiot. I'm a fan of firearms and a fan of the Second Amendment, and a lot of times I believe they exist so that intelligent people can also stop the militias.
Wait,
there's a big part of that
What?
there. There's a big part of that there. The Second Amendment is for everybody. We need more intelligent people to not just go, guns are bad, because they look at all these idiots with guns. We need intelligent people to say, there's idiots with guns. We should stop them. But anyway, they were interviewing this one guy, and he's like, I feel like my country's under attack. It's like, okay, so you're heading down to the border with a bunch of other drunk rednecks with firearms to stop refugees that are thousands of miles away and walking here, most of them probably carrying family members that are on the verge of death.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's, how are they attacking you?
Don,
No.
they
Can't
can throw
wrap my
rocks.
head around it. They
No.
can't, they'd have to set their kids down.
No, the kids carry the rocks.
Oh, okay. So they
Wait,
well,
so they're
right,
throwing
so
their
the-
kids.
So that
Now
the
they're throwing
kids,
Oh,
they
gosh.
hold the kids so the kid's throwing arm doesn't get tired.
Well, yeah.
Now I've got it. So the
Listen.
kid is their firearm.
Here's a strategy.
Oh, gosh.
So anytime
thing
you
is,
see somebody carrying a child, assume you're under attack, take them out.
Yes.
It's self-defense at that point.
Listen.
He had a kid.
Walmart's getting ugly tonight.
Is that a stand your ground?
I
Are you
think it
standing your
is.
ground?
I think it is. There was nowhere to retreat.
No, that's a
He had
stand
kid
somebody's ground.
But just for one adventure in San Antonio, I went to a gun show there, and it was the strangest thing that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And not only did they have firearms, and they were secure with
right,
wire.
they had the gun locks and
But they would have arts and crafts table right next to
Oh,
it,
yeah.
with quilts and little homemade, quilty.
Smiley rocks.
Yeah, well, yes,
Pet
smiley
rocks, there you
rocks
go.
and
Pet rocks.
and-
Googly eyes.
yeah, and popsicle sticks that were
In
painted.
case you run out of bullets, you have smiley rocks
Thank
to throw.
you.
For your kids to throw.
Dual purpose. Listen, it's a toy until it's not anymore, okay?
and
And next to the Smiley Rock table is the Girl Scout cookies.
Right. Well, yeah.
You gotta
Girl Scouts and guns.
Hello.
It's like peanut butter and
yeah, and in the
and
back,
guns.
guns.
in the back was medieval weaponry.
Oh, yeah.
It
Those are
had-
fun, yeah.
There was a mace, the
Oh, yeah.
ball with
Oh,
the
yeah.
spikes and everything, and I thought, why on earth would they need that?
Well, that's to defend the moat.
Right.
Yeah.
Because what if your alligator dies?
Yeah. Or
And you're really bad with a bow and arrow.
yeah, and to tenderize your big Texas steak.
Exactly. Yeah.
So-
Okay, now I'm listening.
Yep. Ooh.
I love steak.
I thought that was a euphemism.
Not tube steak. And here I told her earlier that we weren't going to do those jokes. And now you drug me straight into it.
Welcome to the Life Radio
Yeah,
Show.
that might be unavoidable.
Yeah,
I can still
sometimes,
sling
yeah.
a declarative sentence together. I'm just, I'm a
She's
different
3
person.
cups in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she knew she was coming on the show.
I get
What's
it.
up?
Yep, sometimes you
Hit
got to do
me.
a little preparation drinking.
She was partying in my house.
Yeah. Yeah, while he was driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been to many gun and knife shows because
Yeah.
when I grew up with firearms. I think I started shooting. Ah!
Yeah.
No, at a range,
Hot shots.
supervised.
Yeah.
When I think I fired my first rifle at probably 6.
Sure.
I grew up with them. That was,
Mm-hmm.
my dad's from Tennessee. That's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a different era, too.
And it was, now everybody's afraid of guns.
Yeah.
They've been demonized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. They're still there. They're
Right.
still the same guns I grew up with.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You grew up with muskets. Grandpa.
Yeah.
You're just
Not
getting
the-
hurtful now, Michael.
Yeah. But not the AR-15.
Listen, I see your beard, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jealous.
I've got a
Yeah.
different beard.
Yeah. Like a 12-gauge shotgun and a rifle they're different from the AR-15.
Sure.
And I think that aren't they?
AR-15 is a rifle.
It's the
They
automatic.
No,
right?
it is not.
It's not
No.
an automatic.
It is semi-automatic, and a lot of hunting rifles are also semi-automatic. Now we're getting into the whole bridge where you cross over to clip capacity and magazine capacity.
Yeah.
Cool.
But here's the thing: it's a rifle. They came up with the term assault rifle and assault weapon to make you scared of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same firearm that's been around since the 50s and 60s. AR-15 is actually a M4 military M14 civilian model.
Okay.
Only it's not fully auto. That's the difference. It's semi-automatic. You
Okay.
cannot, unless you have a federal level 3 license, you cannot purchase a fully automatic anything.
Okay.
But that's the thing. If you're not familiar with them, they can use that lack of familiarity that a lot of Americans have to scare them of
Yeah,
firearms.
to instill fear.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the government that we have and that they like to control with
Yeah.
fear.
Well, it's an extremist society now. It's
absolutely.
It's right and left. It's not
Absolutely.
conservative or liberal. It's
ultra
pendulum.
conservative or ultra liberal
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
liberal. That's religious and liberal.
Well,
Yes,
That's
Yeah.
a confusing
That doesn't
mix
make
there.
any
sense.
Yeah,
Well,
unless you're like Scientologist.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, well, there you. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I just like to make the distinction between left and liberal, right and conservative. 'Cause
Right.
They're 4 different concepts. I was trained with a Glock, and a 12 gauge when I worked as a security guard. Like I left being an investigator to go to a step lower. But I left, and I don't own I want to fill my life with happiness now.
Right.
And I think
Me
that's,
too. I haven't had to pull my gun on anybody in months.
But it's just like I foolishly thought, I did some deep thinking returning back to Ohio where I was raised, and it's like I foolishly thought that I was expanding myself, being a better person through public service, and it just wasn't true. I was anxious, it's like, I lost so much time. I mean, I met some interesting people. I mean, don't get me wrong. And, because I was in New York, I there was so much to do and to see there, but I have a very humble existence now. I don't live in a tenement anymore.
A hostel.
But I in New York, I had an experience where I was an extra for the show 30 Rock, and it's kind of like the Muppet Show with people. I'm sure you might be familiar with that. And I got to be a clown on the first episode of the last season.
Like a literal clown?
Yeah, like...
Did you have face paint?
Yeah, I had face paint. I wore it for about 12 hours. And I had my own costume and everything. And I got paid a little bit of extra money because I did that. And I was very green and very grateful to have that experience and not to be fired because I didn't really get the joke. It was at a bachelorette party for the blonde character, Jenna, I think her name was. And I don't remember.
I'll believe everything that you say right now.
But anyway, I thought, well, this is great. I can still have fun as a clown and do my job as an investigator. And I did that.
You don't want to combine the two.
You don't want to be an undercover clown.
Yeah, that's
impossible.
That might be a funny
the squeaky
skit.
nose and the big shoes will throw you immediately.
A
you can't sneak up and snoop around,
But
it doesn't work.
But when I was in San Antonio, I volunteered with this Clown Alley, which is a troupe of clowns that work with charities, and they entertain children that live in poverty and the neglected elderly. So I did that while I was there, but I just got like a compassion fatigue, which is a thing I found out.
Yeah.
I think that what gradually unraveled me too. I was just wearing myself thin. But I had a Twitter account, and I was very good with having a format, just doing clowning things and connecting with clowns. And I probably connected with 30. Let's face it, clowning just isn't popular anymore. I made a mistake. My
only on the weekends, but
right.
My name is Bree, and my clown name was Cheese the Clown, because Brie is a type of cheese. Not very inventive or anything.
Yeah.
But
it's very cheesy.
Yeah, could have at least gone with Camembert.
But I made
hard to pronounce.
I'm Camembert the Clown. Hunk.
Yeah, I made a mistake on Twitter, and it was a offense that I was really ashamed of. It doesn't really matter anymore. People say anything on Twitter, but at the time,
our president.
Just look at him. But even people overreact to what people tweet, and I thought, well, life is bigger than Twitter. There's a world out there that's bigger than Trump. There's so much more to being alive.
Right.
And that's what makes comedy so wonderful. I guess, do you want me to read the letter here? I could read the letter I wrote, or
can we take a break and come back to it?
Sure.
Okay, because I got to hit the comedy rundown. We got to take a little short little break.
Okay.
Or
right.
short little Blake.
Blake.
Have you met? That's my next guest, actually. Short little
What?
Blake.
You like that boring?
Yeah, short little Blake's going to come in, dressed as a clown. Actually, it's short little Blake the clown.
This is my nightmare.
He goes by Camembert. So
Never heard of him.
Hey, well, he wasn't on Twitter.
Okay.
Here's this week's Comedy Rundown, brought to you by the legendary Wiley's Comedy Club at 101 Pine Street in Dayton's historic Oregon District. Or Oregon District, too, not the Oricon. Anyway, call 224-JOKE or go to wileyscomedy.com for all the best in Dayton comedy. Tonight, Tuesday, November 6th, open mic at Peach's Grill at 104 Xenia Avenue in Yellow Spring. That show starts at 8 p.m., so you better hurry. Super Dope Comedy Festival also kicks off tonight. That's at 809 South Smithville Road. That show starts at 8:30. That's Dan Seabury's apartment. He's doing a whole week of Super Dope Comedy Festival. Wednesday, November 7th, Comedy Fight Club is at Ned Pepper's at 419 East 5th Street in Dayton with Tyrone Hawkins headlining. That's Nate Washington's fantastic show where you get to experience all the really challenging parts of being a comic in one show. Also, Wednesday open mic at the Buckeye Sports Lodge at 126 West High Street in Springfield. That show starts at 7:30. Also open mic at South Park Tavern at 1301 Wayne Avenue. That show starts at 9 p.m. Thursday, November 8th, Super Dope Comedy Festival. I'll get it out. Super Dope Comedy Festival continues at the Barrel House at 417 East 3rd Street in Dayton. That show starts at 8:30 p.m. Also an open mic at the Spirited Goat at 118 Dayton Street in Yellow Springs. That show starts at 7 p.m. And an open mic at the Hookah Bazaar at 958 Patterson Road in Dayton. That show starts at 10 p.m. Sign-ups if you want some stage timer at 9:30. Thursday through Sunday this week, November 8th through the 11th, Carlos Miller is at the Dayton Funny Bone at 88 Plum Street at the Green. Friday and Saturday, November 9th and 10th, Super Dope Comedy Festival brings it home at Wiley's Comedy Club at 101 Pine Street in the Oregon District. That's 3 different shows, bunch of different comics. Great time. This is the 2nd annual Super Dope Comedy Festival. Sunday, November 11th, Wiley's Sunday Comics is back at Wiley's Comedy Club at 101 Pine Street in the Oregon District. That is it. As always, check out Wiley'sComedy.com and DaytonFunnyBone.com for details and tickets to upcoming shows. And don't forget to show some love on Monday nights to the open mic at Hannah's at 121 North Ludlow Street in Dayton. And on that note, I believe I'm going to... What did I get queued up? I have a little St. Mary, St. Michael queued up, just to be a little different. I usually play Potter's Field, but we're going to go St. Mary, St. Michael today. This is Neat, and we'll be back here shortly.
Almost had it all, and I lost everything. All that's left to me is my name. But I don't want your pity. The only thing I need is to drown my sorrows and pain. So bartender, you asked me what I'd like to drink. Well, it's been a long day, I can hardly think. And life is such a mess. So if you're asking me, well, I'll take my whiskey neat. The last one that we pulled, then we'd all go clean. But then I saw them gun him down. Don't ask me what I mean, you don't say anything, just pour me another round. So bartender, you ask me about my drink of choice. Well, I don't want anything to water down my voice. Now my life is such a mess. So maybe what I need is to take my whiskey neat. Maybe it's my fault, maybe I brought it on myself. Now this glass is my only friend. I'm drinking till I'm numb, and I still hurt like hell. Just keep pouring until I say when. Oh, bartender, you ask me what I'd like to drink. Well, it's been a long day, I can hardly think. My life is such a mess, so maybe what I need is to take my whiskey neat. So I'll take my whiskey neat. Yeah, I'll take my whiskey neat.
Hello there. My name name is Wallace J. Crumplebottom, and when it's early in the morning, there's nothing that gets me ready for a long day of bean counting quite like a good breakfast. And there's no better breakfast than a brand new episode of The Breakfast Lads. Take it from me, I'm British, so I must know what I'm talking about. Tune in every Wednesday at 8 a.m. for a brand new episode of The Breakfast Lads. Brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
Hey man, this is Donnie Baker at Wiley's Comedy Club, and you're listening to WWSU 106.9. I swear to God.
All right, we're back on the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith, sitting in with my guest co-host for the week, the lovely Michael Moore.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy. and our guest for this for the next 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes to go to bringing this all home.
We'll fill it up, baby.
Bree McGirt is still with us. Let's start filling this 20 minutes up.
Okay. Well,
now you have a letter.
Yeah.
Do you want to preface this a little?
Yeah, I'll preface this a little. Like, I made a tweet, and it totally destroyed my clown character. I did it to myself, and this letter explains everything. And this is a letter that's not too old because the letter I received was from this past April. The email I received back was from April 2nd, 2018. So I wrote the Obamas, both President Obama and Michelle Obama, to apologize. And it all started with Michelle Obama. So I'll read what I wrote to her. It's really the same letter. I just changed the names. So I sent them basically the same apology. So, Dear Mrs. Obama, I owe you an apology. In fact, this is my last attempt, as the first two were awkward and not well formulated. So I owe you several apologies. First, on November 30th, 2016, I wrote a letter to you inspired by the White House website that asked the public to share reflection stories to your administration. I wrote a cheeky letter to you regarding Standing Rock and the failure of politicians, and in turn insulted your administration. I couldn't grasp that a game show host became president, and I allowed it to get in the way of common sense and sensible action. I thought something would have happened between November and January that would have rectified the election, which leads me to my second offense, the big one. Okay, the night of President Obama's farewell address on January 10th of 2017, I wrote a mistake. I paraphrased part of the speech that I thought was poetic on social media Twitter. My handle is @CheeseTheClown. I volunteered as a clown, the good kind, part-times for charities in Texas. The paraphrase was open to unsavory interpretation, not intentionally, I'm not a malicious person, but consumed by at least 10,000 people on Twitter, according to their performance metrics. Further, I made two other mistakes regarding the Obama Foundation. Concerning the fellowship, I overshared my past frustration working as a public servant and plugged a friend who I believed that was deserving of a spot. And recently, I applied to the Obama Foundation for the graphic designer position without really reconciling any of my past transgressions. There is no excuse for letting my feelings, point of view, and professional failures impose on you, President Obama, and your staff. I am sincerely sorry. I've come to accept that Donald Trump is president. The tweets are deleted from the Twitter account of @CheeseTheClown, and I have not clowned since, which is true. I withdraw my application from the Obama Foundation because I know that there are more deserving and more qualified candidates than myself. I am sorry for my actions. I became unglued during the winter of the last year, moving from Texas back home to the Midwest. I hope that you, President Obama, and your staff will forgive my actions. And maybe I will clown again in the future without political tweets.
Okay.
Sincerely, Bree.
Yeah, right. So, What exactly was the tweet?
That's
the juicy part. I paraphrased what I thought was very poetic about President Obama's farewell address, and I was stupid, and I paraphrased what he called a reservoir of goodness. He talked about a reservoir of goodness and taking risk. And I said something along the lines on Twitter. I wrote as Cheese to Clown, I'm a risk-free reservoir of goodness. And it was open to a lot of unsavory interpretations. Yeah. Like I was going to mount, like the clown was going to mount the president from the rear. Let's just put it that way, okay? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't take it as that.
Yep,
but
you've got
okay,
Michael's attention.
Now I'm listening. Can we read the letter, please?
Well, the responses I got were alarming because I just thought I'm just a stupid little clown, you know, and I'm disgruntled like half the nation was, and you know, I was being stupid, like I said in my apology letter. But, you know, I got a response back from the office of Michelle Obama, and I would ask Michael.
I would love to read
to read as Mrs. Obama,
as
please.
Mrs. Obama, you have to read it. Take it away, Michelle.
Dear Bree. No, I'm kidding.
Careful.
I couldn't keep that up.
No, I'm glad.
Dear Bree, I want to thank you for taking the time to write me. It means so much to receive warm wishes like yours, and I hope you know how much I appreciate your thoughtfulness. Over the years, I have had the extraordinary privilege of receiving letters from people living across our country and around the world. I've seen and heard firsthand the very best of the American spirit, and my family has experienced incredible kindness and warmth. Barack and I share your faith in our shared future, and I am looking forward to finding new ways to improve our nation as your fellow citizen. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Michelle Obama.
And this is framed in my home office. And I understand it's probably a standard letter from their office that's sent out. But it meant a lot to me because I was sorry. And I don't know if I should be anymore about being apologetic, because I'm, as you know, the short time that has passed, there's so much political correctness. Everybody is turning into Tipper Gore from the 1984 case of Dee Snider versus Tipper Gore, and what was the Parents Music Resource Center.
Right.
And I just thought, this is outrageous. And it's, you know, it's like, you can't say that. That hurts my feelings. But what I did was wrong. Because I really thought I was, you know, public servant. I failed my standards. I failed my standards.
You've not seen my Twitter feed.
Right.
You're just fine.
But I had a clearance.
I've sent pictures of things to people that are extremely offensive. So your misconstrued words are just fine.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's on the people
that's all in what the people that saw your tweet. That's what went through their head. That's on them.
That's on them and how they misinterpreted what you were doing and stuff. And like, I don't think you should hold any kind of blame or any kind of embarrassment, shame, any of that kind of stuff. I think that's all on the people that misconstrued what you were saying. Because like you said, you were just kind of you found what he said poetic. You just kind of like twisted it a bit and made it fit what you were doing and how you felt. And I mean, I could say, listen, people are already going to take many of the things that I've said here tonight and twist them and put them in a different light.
Well, I edit the whole podcast just to make you sound terrible.
Are you going to put a filter on me? So I'm like, my name is Michelle Obama.
That's the whole thing I'm going to do is you're going to...
I'm going to sound like the old man off of Family Guy.
Jesse.
Well, anyway, I would like to bring Cheese to Clown back sometime in the future. In fact, there's a little walk cycle through animation that I've done on my website, bybam.com. And
what is your website?
bybam.com.
BYBA.
Yeah, ByBam. It's my initials. And I do still have cheesetoclown.com. I don't want to get rid of it. Because I'm scared what someone will do if I let go of it.
Right.
But
When does that expire?
yeah, but and that being said, I really love creating cartoons and I like conceptual things that are challenging and kind of provoke people and I like Stephen King. I don't hate him for writing it. I think it's a really
I do. I peed a little when I saw that movie.
well. I did too.
The
with
original one?
the original
Yes.
one, the original
All
one.
of-
I thought,
All of the above.
yeah. Well, I haven't seen the new one yet.
It's been so long since I've seen the original one. The new one's creepy, but at the same time, I find humor in a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's so campy.
I remember there was I almost got kicked out of a theater when we were watching. So it was some zombie movie.
I have
It-
so many
it
things
was-
I want to say right now.
you were going with Pee Wee Herman direction, weren't you?
Was there a hole in the bottom of that popcorn bucket?
Yes. But no, I was laughing at the movie screen. I forget what movie we were watching. It was some serious zombie movie, and I'm back there just in hysterics. My wife's like, "Shut up, you're going."
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was something really dumb happened, and it just struck me funny because
Yeah.
I don't scare very easily and stuff like that. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Like
that's
It gets weird.
But going back, too many people apologize for their jokes. Too many people have to are made to apologize by social media and by society in general when they really shouldn't.
Right.
I mean, careers are destroyed by certain things they should be.
Yeah, granted, people
yeah.
take things very far
Yeah,
and say
there are certain
things that
things-
are awful.
Yeah, there are certain things that a severed head of a sitting president probably a bad idea. Yeah,
Maybe, maybe.
yeah.
Well,
yeah,
it was. Now she's
yeah.
doing all right. Go ahead.
What's that?
I said it was, but now she's doing all right. So
Is she doing all right again?
she's selling
Okay.
out her tour again.
Oh well,
So
there you
she's
go,
doing
there
fine.
you go. And she was never funny to begin with, which is fantastic. Not a Kathy Griffin fan.
I mean, I come and I go, but then again, I'm part of her demographic. So
Oh well, there you go, there you go.
Yeah, it's strange. It's kind of strange. Yeah, I like her early stuff. But the first female comic I saw when I was a little girl on TV was Elaine Boosler.
I
And-
remember Elaine Boosler.
and-
She was
and
funny.
I think it was just because she was the first female comic I saw on TV as a little girl. I wanted to be her. And then I learned about Paula Poundstone.
Also fantastic.
Yeah, and I wore a vest and ties because of her when I was 8 years old. And there's a lot of funny women out there. And Maria
Absolutely.
Bamford was in
yeah.
Cincinnati not too long ago, and she's hilarious. So it's, that's what's nice about Wiley's is that as a female amateur comic, open mic performer, I feel really welcome there. And it's if I'm not performing, I go for laughs.
sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big time.
I want to go back to what we were talking about almost at the very beginning of the show, and how you started comedy and how you were doing. You go to stage because you want to see about maybe jokes working that you will write or that you will put in writing or in a cartoon or something. So I think that's really interesting to do that because when you're writing or you're drawing something, you don't get that immediate reaction, that immediate response. And so that's interesting to take that to stage first and see what kind of a response that might get.
Because
And then
it's
if you're
alive.
gonna, yeah, right. And then you're going to take that and put it in writing or something, so then you have an idea on how that might work. But then again, you might put some kind of inflection or something in your voice or however you put it out on stage, and it's not going to come across the
Right.
same way as writing. But that's still an interesting way to
Yeah,
kinda
I think humor,
workshop.
written humor is a lot different.
Sure.
A lot different from
Right.
stand-up comedy. A
Yeah.
lot different.
Yeah.
But I know a handful of authors. I listened to one speak in a seminar where he talked about he performed stand-up comedy for about a year. He went and did a bunch of different shows did it for about, it was like 6 months to a year. Said it wasn't something that he really was wanting to do as a career, but he wanted to try stand up to learn about honesty and truth.
Yeah.
And that is one of the, because stand up, I mean, it's a true form. It's a true art form.
Yeah.
You're up there. You're you. You're not. Yeah.
It's all you.
Yeah. Exactly.
You have to be authentic.
Absolutely. Because
and people know it.
You can tell a story that's embellished, but you have to be believable when you're doing it. And that, because if they don't believe something that you're saying, you lost them for the entire set.
And you just,
Because it's weird that the public can pick out a comic that's lying, but a politician they let slide.
Yeah, they just roll their eyes.
Yeah.
it's because you don't have an entire network behind you pushing it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
But it's just funny because I think on Sunday when we were at Wiley's, we were talking about how, like, I don't know if it was with you or if it was somebody else, where we were talking about how, like, people that are playing in a band and stuff don't understand how we as comedians can get up on stage by ourselves
Right.
and, perform and do jokes and that kind of stuff, but they can get up in front of an entire crowd, with a band, because it's not just them. But even though they've performed for 20 years, they're like, there's no way that I would get up there by myself.
Well, I know a lot of theater actors that have no idea how comics get up and do that.
Right.
Because it's a whole different thing. Because I performed a lot of theater, and you have a script that's tested. It's not your words. Right. You're a character. You're not even you when you go up there. There's a big difference. Yeah. For most of us.
Yeah,
some folks get up there as characters.
Oh, boy, yeah.
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 We've gotten to no news stories today.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
really?
Which
your
is-
news
which is
stories are better
fantastic.
than what I read.
No,
but when
that
I
was-
read, I go straight to the funnies anymore because I'll be honest, I've given up.
Well,
So
I can
listen-
understand that.
I go to Better for Worse and Peanuts and
Yeah.
the
I was
silly
looking through
stuff.
here. I was thinking a lot of times the news I have in here, I might have something with a clown, but I couldn't find anything this time. Which I think last week I did have news of a clown. So
unfortunate.
we have hundreds of witches. We have zombie. This is an older one, but we'll go ahead and do this one just because it's fun.
Okay.
And it's Alabama, which I haven't done a lot of news stories from Alabama, and they've got to be at least as good as Florida's. Maybe.
Yeah.
Florida's got some of the best dumb news. Anyway, it's this is before Halloween. It's not Halloween yet, but one Alabama woman has already had the fright of her life. Anna Tew, Gesundheit, was planning to be a zombie for the haunting holiday and spent $3 on a pair of fake teeth for the costume. The zombie teeth attached to her regular chompers with adhesive, and she became unglued when she realized the fake teeth were stuck. She said, I was trying to remove them then because they were tight. They wouldn't budge. I even took a pair of wire clippers and cut the tips off of them.
Okay, that's just stupid.
Tew couldn't eat or drink because of the fake teeth, but tried drinking hot chocolate, hoping the heat would loosen the glue. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. She said, I drooled hot coffee. I guess you could say. They wouldn't budge. I'm panicking. Of course, I had a few panic attacks by this point. I tried to sleep. Wasn't no sleeping. That's an Alabama quote right there.
Yes.
Tried to sleep. Wasn't no sleeping.
So I have a question. Do you have her number?
Trying to see if she ever got the teeth out or if she had to take them all out.
Yeah, sure.
That sounds really painful.
That does.
Were
That
the
does.
fake teeth better than her real teeth? It was Alabama.
That's what I was thinking. It's like, well, yeah, they got stuck. They probably got stuck in the gap between her real teeth.
Well, then keep them.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
no, she went...
reinforcement.
It's too late. She already cut the tips off. What?
Yep.
What kind of nonsense is that?
Yep, them's Alabama dentures. Is what
Ugh. Wow.
yeah,
Upsetting.
she just got caps. That's really what it was.
Yeah,
she got
exactly, yeah.
caps.
Ugh. I hope they were fangs.
Well, she said she cut the tips off, so I'm guessing they were kind of
that's
fangish.
True. Yeah.
There are people that do that. They file their canine teeth to make them look more like vampire.
Yeah, I've heard
seen
some
that on-
I've heard some strange people
I'm
doing
gonna
it.
do that.
Yeah. There you go.
I love to bite people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna file him down like Pennywise from It.
There
Didn't he
you
have
go.
the, like,
There you
pointy
go.
teeth?
Yeah.
In the new one?
I don't know.
The new
I
one,
could be
the
making
new
that
one
up.
of that was
No.
pretty creepy. It was a lot creepier than the old one.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't find it scary because it's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes things can be so campy that they creep me
Yeah.
out. And that's what the first one did.
Sometimes they can be so campy that they're just funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I get scared by everything,
Ed
so
Yeah.
I'm a real sissy.
Anyway,
Great.
Yeah. Not going to go there.
Thanks, guys.
We have reached the top of the hour. You survived.
Thank you.
made it.
You did
We had,
it.
Yeah,
no
well,
no
hey.
bad stuff. None more than expected anyway.
Yeah. Well, I survived being a little gumshoe investigator. I survived Texas. You know, I survived you.
You survived clowning. You
Yeah.
survived my clowning. You survived Michael.
Oh, damn.
You are a survivor.
All right.
We used to be friends.
Well, Bree, thanks for coming on. It's been a
Thanks
pleasure
for
talking
having
to
me,
you.
Yeah.
Don, and nice seeing you again, Mike.
We're going
Yeah,
to go
you
ahead and
too.
take a little break, and we will be back as soon as I find the right button to click. We will be back here shortly on the Life Radio Show. Thanks for listening to the Life Radio Show podcast. Check us out on Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network or wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, if you want to listen live, we're on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM with a repeat broadcast on Wednesdays from noon to 2, or you can always stream the show live at wwsu1069.org. If you have suggestions or comments, feel free to email the life1069@gmail.com.
The brutal presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me. I am a brutal presence. I will impose my will. I am
That might be unavoidable.